Hey, my name is Rowan Smith and I want to welcome you to the Training for Trekking podcast. Now, this is the world's very first podcast which is entirely dedicated to helping you train, prepare and conquer your upcoming hike, trek or mountain adventure. So once a week, I'm going to be giving you quality and practical information on the subjects of physical preparation for trekking, dealing with altitude and nutrition on the trail, so you can know everything you need to be doing to have the best chance of a safe, enjoyable and successful adventure. So now you know what you're in for, let's get into today's episode. Okay, hello guys. Today we are talking all about how to reduce sore feet after hiking. And today I'm specifically going to be going into a number of actions and a number of strategies you can use just to help the feet feel a little bit more comfortable after you've had a big day on the trail. And whether you're on just doing a day hike and you're at home with your feet up, whether you're on an overnighter and your feet are getting a little bit sore, whether you're on a multi-day or a massive through hike and you're aware that you need to look after your feet so they don't fall apart and ruin the rest of your adventure, these strategies can be applied at home, on the trail or wherever you may be, and they can be very, very effective. Now, we all know that sore feet will creep up on the trail, and particularly when we're either getting into a distance that we're not particularly ready for, if we're stepping onto a rough or really uneven trail, or if we've even gotten some new footwear and we're not 100% used to it. Every single hiker has dealt with this at some stage or another. Some people are really lucky and it'll only last for a day or two. Some people will have it regularly, and some people, unfortunately, will have more major issues like plantar fasciitis or heel spurs or whatever it may be, and it can creep into long-term issues. Now, these actions I'm going to talk you through, they're really, really worthwhile going through, regardless of what particular situation you're in. If it's just mild discomfort, if it's a bit of pain, or even if it's a longer term thing. I would say for the guys who are dealing with a longer term injury, obviously you need to take this stuff with a grain of salt, and if anything feels uncomfortable or it's not recommended by your podiatrist or your physio, whatever it may be, but 99% of the time it's going to be all right. So these actions, really, really simple, but if you do struggle with sore feet, these are what I recommend you do at the end of a day's worth of hiking. Now, first and foremost, simplest thing you can do is do a little bit of rolling on the feet. Now, if you have a massage ball, and I highly recommend any hiker carry a cork massage ball in their pack. If you have a water bottle, or even if you have just the end of a trekking pole, you can do a little bit of self-massage on your feet here. And typically just doing some light massage or rolling on your feet at the end of a day can really do a really good thing. Now, in this situation, we don't have to get really, really deep. We don't absolutely have to cause agony. We don't have to really, really push this to the limit. But I want us to feel moderately uncomfortable, but good afterwards, and not excruciatingly painful. Now, some people really make the mistake here. They just really hammer themselves, and you don't want to be doing that, because if you go in too hard and you can't let the body relax afterwards, it's probably going to do more harm than good. And it's probably going to lead to a little bit of bruising, which is going to make you more uncomfortable and yada, yada, yada. And for the guys who do struggle with an injury or pain, you want to go a little bit lighter again, because if we don't want to actually aggravate the issue, we just want to sort of give it a little bit of love and give it a little bit of attention without actually going too crazy. So at the end of a day's hiking, spending 2 to 3 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, depending on how long you got, just rolling around on the feet and just making it feel good. Now, typically what we want to be doing here is working the bottom of the feet. So the arches or the heel or whatever it may be. If you're particularly really sore in a spot, maybe skip it altogether and just do the areas that feel, above and below it. Then we want to move up a little bit. You might want to spend a little bit of time with a ball or the bottom of your trekking pole, just working into the Achilles a little bit and getting in there very lightly, and then doing a few toe points and pull-ups, and that can be really good. And then we want to work up to the calves, spend a bit of time on that, and work a little bit on the shins as well on the other side. Typically, working on the feet, the Achilles, the calves, and the shins, that all in itself will make your feet feel much, much happier. And it's not going to fix the issue, but it'll make it feel much better. And that's the first place you want to start. Second place we want to go to is doing a little bit of stretching. So here we've really got two options and two things I'd recommend you do. Number one, spend a bit of time stretching out your calves, which are usually the typical culprit, and just sort of dropping your heel off a rock or anything that may be around camp, and just stretching out the calf for maybe 2 or 3 minutes and spending a bit of time there. Then what you can do if you really want to go a little bit further, you can do a little bit of stretching in the feet as well. And this is simply just putting your foot across your knee, grabbing the arch of your foot and just bending it backwards and feeling a bit of stretch through the arch. And then you can even put your hands between your toes and just pull it one way and pull it the other and just see what feels good. Some people will be a bit grossed out about this at the end of a day's hiking, understandably, but if you're brave enough, it can be pretty good. Now, the third thing you want to look at, if you regularly get sore feet or if there's something you'd want to be dealing with, compression at the end of a day's hike can be amazing. And I always say this, having a set of compression recovery socks can be worth their weight in gold. And if you wear this for a couple of hours in camp, if you wear this at home while you're making dinner, if you wear this overnight or whatever it may be, it can go a long way. I'd highly recommend that. Now, the next one we want to be thinking about, and probably you might do this before the compression easily now that I think about it, is looking at a little bit of change in temperature. Now, if you're in camp and if you have access to a river or a lake or whatever it may be, doing a bit of cold immersion, so just sticking your feet in the cold water, can be really, really good. And just literally sit your feet in there for 10, 15 minutes, wriggle your toes around. It can feel amazing and it can really go a long way. Alternatively, if you're at home, you can sort of do the same thing if you want to put cold water in a bath or icy water in a bath or a bucket and just dip your feet and even your legs in there and go a long, long way. Now, on the other side of things, if you are at home, you can't really do this on the trail, but if you are at home, you can get pretty much the similar results from using warmth. So if you have warm water in a warm bath or a warm bucket, stick your feet in there, 10, 15 minutes. It can make things feel really good and just relax it and help it calm down. And yeah, it can be really, really nice. Now, if you are at home and you want to try to take this to the next level, one thing I often recommend my clients, particularly if they struggle with sore feet, is doing something called contrast therapy, which is literally taking the benefits of the cold and the benefits of the hot and combining them. And literally all you do is you put your feet in the cold for 1 or 2 minutes, then put your feet in the hot for 1 or 2 minutes, then cold, then hot, then cold, then hot. Do that for like 10 minutes or so and you'll walk out feeling great. Now, the benefits of that is basically the alternation between those two things can do a little bit extra than one of them by themselves. And the combination can be a little bit more than the sum of the two parts. And it's something that I really recommend if you are at home. And then the final thing you want to be thinking about, if it's getting sore feet is something you regularly get at the end of a day's worth of hiking, you want to be thinking about what can you put on at the end of a day's hiking in regards to footwear that's going to feel comfortable for you. So typically when we're sore, our feet are a little bit sore, we just want to get out our boots, get out our shoes as quickly as we can. And even if it ends up costing you a little bit extra weight in your pack, it's probably worthwhile bringing some comfortable camp shoes, something that feels good for you. Now, some people, this may be thongs or flip-flops, I should say, for my overseas listeners. Some people, this may be Crocs. Some people, this may be a set of joggers. Some people, this may be whatever it may be. But what feels comfortable for you? And sometimes just the simple act of having a different pair of footwear that feels good to put on aside from your actual hiking shoes or boots, it can go a long, long way. And if you're worried about kilos or worried about pounds in your pack, this might be worth compromising on. And then for the guys who do struggle with, particular, plantar fasciitis, whatever it may be, you might want to look at sort of getting some particular plantar fasciitis thongs or sandals or whatever it may be, which have a little heel lift, which we talked about before, and you can find them online. But typically, if you are struggling with some type of sore feet after hiking, whether it's a day hike, overnight hike, multi-day hike, through hike, that's a little checklist that I'd highly recommend you go through. Do some rolling, both on the feet and above the issue. Do some stretching, put some compression on, see if you can get some cold or hot exposure, and make sure you do have access to comfortable shoes. All of this stuff is things I've talked about many times on this podcast, but hopefully this will give you a bit of insight into the specifics for the feet because it can make a massive, massive difference, and I highly recommend you get around it. Now, if you did want a little bit extra information around any of the subjects I've talked about today, if you wanted some examples of the rolling I was talking about, some examples of the stretches, or anything else, I would absolutely love if you could come and find me in the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. Now, inside that group, I'm always happy to share videos, share exercises, expand on these topics a little bit more, and I would absolutely love to see you there. So if you want to find that, that's the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. I'll leave a link in the show notes below. So thank you so much for listening today. I really do hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.